Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use AI to create your own listen and respond questions. So this is part of interactive listening on the Duolingo English test. So listen and respond looks a bit like this. The question is a listening question. You take part in a conversation with a professor or another student, and each turn of the conversation, you listen to the other person, either the professor or the student that you're talking to, and you choose the best response. So it's listening combined with a bit of reading and multiple choice. And this question is followed by one called summarize the conversation. So after you've taken part in this conversation, you need to write in just 75 seconds a summary of what you talked about in the previous step. And you can do that either by writing in the first person, almost like you're still taking part in this role play, or you can do that in the third person. So that's a bit of background. Now let's look at how we can use AI to create our own questions. All right, so I've got ChatGPT open here, and I'm going to start by creating the scenario, the background. This is the part that you read before you start listening to anything in interactive reading. So I've asked AI here to create a scenario. I've included some details, so I've said about 35 to 50 words long, 2 to 3 sentences, and then I've got a few examples. But I need to include some kind of scenario here. So I'm going to say, this one's going to be a student asking a professor for past exam papers. And AI is going to give us a few examples here. And then I can choose one of these that I like and use this to generate a conversation. So I'm going to go for the philosophy one. So I'll copy and paste that. But first I'm going to take my next prompt. This is a little bit complex to create one of these. We've got quite a few prompts. So I'm going to copy and paste the prompt first. And this prompt's got a few sections to it. This, of course, will all be in the video description. So we've got a few sample conversations here. I think 3. I'm not sure if I'll manage to include all of those in the description or not, but I'll include as many as I can. And then I've got some criteria. So I've said 5 to 6 turns per speaker, and hopefully 10 to 12 lines of dialogue in total. I've said how long the student lines should be. So this is based on some publicly available sample questions that Duolingo have published for this. The professor lines need to be a little bit longer, again, based on those freely available ones. And yeah, of course, no offensive words. And I'm just going to copy and paste this philosophy scenario in here. And hopefully now the AI should create a conversation for us. So as it does that, I'm going to go and create or copy and paste another prompt. So my next prompt here is going to be getting a summary. So remember earlier we said that following this question, you do another question called summarize the conversation, where you write a summary of the conversation. You can write that in the first person or the third person. So what we're going to do next is get the AI to generate a summary of the conversation. And we can use that as a basis of marking the student ones. Again, this is what Duolingo do as well. They compare what you write with these AI summaries. I've said around 80 words. I think that's realistic for the 75-second time limit. All right, and we've got 3 sample ones there. So we're going to enter that in here. Oops, that didn't work. Let's see if we can get this to work. All right. So here we've got a first person summary of this conversation and a third person summary. So we can use those later and compare what our students write with that. Now, obviously, we don't actually have anything like a question yet, right? We just have a background, a dialogue, and then a summary. So the next thing we need to do is create some distractors. Now, the way Duolingo do this is different. They actually create hundreds of these conversations, and then they find similar conversations and take lines from similar conversations and use those as the wrong answers. But we probably don't have the resources to do that. So we're going to do something slightly different. We're just going to ask the AI to create other options, really, distractors. And we've said that these should be low predictability. So things that are unlikely to occur next in the conversation, and do things that kind of don't align with the scenario. We said we only want to add lines to the student, not to the professor. Yeah, and ensure that these are about the right length. So let's input that, and we're now going to get 2 of these. I don't think you'll always get this, but you can see here we've got at the top the original scenario that we came up with a minute or 2 ago, and then we're getting options for which for what the student role says here. Okay, so again, with all these, after you've created them, make sure that you read what these are, make sure that the answers make sense to you before showing your students. But you can see there, in a relatively short amount of time, we've been able to create some sample or a sample question for interactive reading. Of course, this one doesn't actually include, interactive listening. This one doesn't include any listening. Of course, if you wanted to do that, you could take these professor lines here and use a text to speech AI to turn this into audio. But that's beyond the scope of what we're going to look at in this video. But you can see here that we've got, already this one's seems to be more or less complete. This one's still going, and we can choose one of these to give to our students. Okay, I hope that was useful. And I hope your students enjoy using these sample questions that you were able to create by yourself. If you do try this and you're successful or not successful, leave us a comment in the video below. Thanks. Goodbye.